Hello YouTube and welcome back to a new video with Rams Fan YT. In today's video, I will be going through my playoff predictions, my Premier League predictions that are happening this weekend, and there's an FA Trophy final to predict as well. It's going to be slightly different from my usual predictions videos, although I'm going to be doing a bit more of a deeper dive within the playoff ones. As usual, I'll do a bit of a surface skim ones for the Premier League. So but first, we're going to start off with the Championship and go down. We've got Sheffield United versus Bristol City. Well, Liam Manning has done a phenomenal job to get Bristol City into the playoffs. There aren't really any star names in this Bristol City side, with it being more focused on the collective, the team, really. And it's really fitting that Jason Knight, who's a great all-action midfielder, has been awarded both the Players' Player of the Season and the Player of the Season awards. I loved him when he was at Derby, and I'm sure he's taken that passion with him to Ashton Gate. Well, Sheffield United have been in the title race most of the season under Wilder, who really is an expert with getting this club out of the league. Gustavo Hamer has been named the Championship Player of the Season with 9 goals and 7 assists from midfield, with both Hamer and Burrows being named in the Championship Team of the Season. This team is certainly star-studded, and despite being in a relatively bad run of form of late, they're probably still most people's favourites to win the playoffs. So to break down the 2 games at Ashton Gate, I think Sheffield United will win that tie away 2-1, and I think it will be a 1-1 draw at Bramall Lane, meaning 3-2 on aggregate to the Blades, and then progressing to the final. Sunderland versus Coventry City. Frank Lampard has done a fantastic job taking Coventry from lower mid-table mediocrity and a divided dressing room from the predecessor Robins to propel them into the playoffs. They're a team with the best form coming into the playoffs, which does always help. And the team has been well balanced. Probably the most standout player, though, has been Mason Clark, with 5 goals, 5 assists, and a pass success rate of 81.7%. Sunderland, however, come into the playoffs off the back of 5 consecutive defeats. That is a never good run to enter the playoffs in. The team has been great for large parts of the season, with playoffs never really looking in doubt. I did have my doubts over Labrie when he first came in as manager, but those have been eased, and he will have excelled if he gets the Black Cats promoted. The key player I would point out is obviously Jobe Bellingham, who reached the Championship Team of the Season, and I would imagine will probably leave to a Champions League club at the end of the season, following his brother's footsteps. But the team is just sparkling with quality, isn't it? With Isidore, Rigg, Bellingham, O'Neill, Roberts, Metham, and Lefay. But on to the scores for me. You can have all the star power in the world, but if you can't get results in the run-up to the playoffs, you are bound to struggle when they come around. This, I think, is very much likely to be the case with Sunderland. So I will say a 3-0 win for Coventry at the CBS Arena, and then a 2-2 draw at the Stadium of Light to take Coventry through to the final on 5-2 on aggregate. So the final we have matched is Sheffield United versus Coventry City. These 2 sides have never met at Wembley, but both have had their recent trips. Sheffield United met Manchester City in the FA Cup semi-finals in 2022-23, but they have their own playoff hoodoos, losing to Nottingham Forest in the semi-final stage last time they were in a playoff competition. Coventry City has made a few recent trips with an FA Cup semi-final against Manchester United last season, and the season before they also had the cruel blow at Wembley of bowing out against Luton Town in the playoff finals in 2022-23. Lampard also doesn't have the greatest Wembley record, with him losing to Aston Villa last time he was in a playoff final with Derby in 2018-19, and losing the FA Cup final at the Hallowed Turf with Chelsea. The playoffs are a rarity for Chris Wilder, with his only appearance at Wembley as a manager was when he won the playoffs with Oxford United from the conference in 2009-10. So one side has recent Wembley woes and the other is out of practice. As a result, I'm expecting a very nervy end-to-end game, with it ending 2 apiece at normal time, and it will end at the end of extra time, and I think it will head to penalties, with Sheffield United earning promotion with a 3-1 win on penalties, with Coventry players having negative flashbacks to losing on penalties to Luton Town and Manchester United, both within relatively recent history. On to League One's playoffs. We've got Stockport County versus Leyton Orient. Two teams on fabulous form, but no more so than Leyton Orient, who have won 6 games on the bounce and are unbeaten in 7. During those 6 wins, 4 of them had 3 or more goals for the 6th place side. The first name which I will strike fear into any defence is Charlie Kelman, who has scored 25 goals in 56 appearances this season. If Leyton don't get promoted, you can bet it will move on in the summer. Richie Wellens has done a great job with the O's, getting them promoted from League 2 in 2022-23 and has now guided them to the playoffs in the league above. You cannot disqualify those Stockport, with Dave Challinger's men having progressed so much under his guidance. Let us not forget they were in the National League North in 2018-19. And the man who guided them from the National League to League One playoffs is a manager who, barring COVID, has never failed to get a team into the playoffs since 2010-11. The legendary Dave Challinger. Their unbeaten run does tally 8 games on the bounce, only dropping points to Peterborough in that run. This includes results such as beating Wycombe 3-1 on the final day of the season, and with Lewis Bate, the captain, who is immense at dribbling, tackling, and good in both defence and attack, which is really what the key attributes you want in midfield. Well, that's probably the reason he's in the League One team of the season, right? And you've also got Tanto Oloyefe, who has been in amazing form at the tail end of the season. This is generally one of the hardest playoff games to call. I would say that Stockport County will win at the Brisbane Road game 1-0. But will then score early in the Edgeley Park game, and so will try and defend their lead, which will prove a critical mistake, with Leyton Orient's clinical firing power pushing and winning the game 4-1, thereby winning the playoffs 40 on aggregate and being one of the greatest playoff semi-finals we have seen in a long time. Charlton Athletic versus the Wycombe Wanderers. It must be said that to succeed in the playoffs, you need form, and the Chairboys have lost that of late, really. They were in an automatic promotion race until the final falter and have now lost 3 in a row. They were 3-1, 1-0 and 4-0. But worst of and all of that, they were against playoff teams as well. So the teams that they really needed to prove themselves against. Let's face facts here. Mike Dodds is no Matt Bloomfield, and results have somewhat faltered as a result. Of course, you can always trust Richard Kone to provide a bit of magic with his 18 goals and 3 assists this season. And with 1 year left on his contract, you can imagine there will probably be several pursuers over the summer for the League One team of the season striker. Charlton, however, have only lost once in the last 8, and that was against automatically promoted Wrexham. In that spell, they've had 2 4-0s, and Lloyd Jones, for me, has been a standout man at the back, helping to keep 20 clean sheets, which is the 3rd best in the division, and has seen him enter into the League One team of the season. Connor Coventry has been ever-present in midfield, and you know you've been in a game with him in the lineup, as he is both a physical presence and also crunches into tackles. Nathan Jones will be hoping to get his playoff bugbear off his back, having failed both as a player and a manager in knockout promotion playoffs. For me, the playoffs is all about good momentum coming into them, something Wycombe just doesn't have. The Addicts can take huge confidence from their recent victory over the Chairboys and will hope to replicate it over the 2 games. Anna's Park is the scene for the first game, and I think Charlton will be ruthless in that one, winning 4-0. And when they're at home at the Valley, they will have the wind in their sails, winning that game 2-1, therefore winning 6-1 on aggregate and marching to the final in fine form. So that lines up the final as being a bit of a London derby here, Charlton Athletic versus Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient were last in the playoffs and finals in 2013-14, but last time they were at Wembley was in the FA Trophy in 2018-19. Unfortunately, both times they did lose. Charlton's only appearance at the new Wembley Stadium was in 2018-19 in the League One playoffs, where they beat Sunderland 2-1 to earn promotion. Nathan Jones does not have the best playoff record, as I already mentioned, getting eliminated in 2016-17 and 2021-22. Richie Wellens, in contrast, has Wembley success, winning the EFL Trophy in 2019-20. In terms of philosophy, Wellens is known for his attacking football, playing out from the back in a 4-2-3-1 and a high-intensity style of play. Jones is much more comfortable out of possession, though, with pressing, long balls from defence to attack, and depending heavily on defence with an effective use of wing backs. Ultimately, I would edge out a more attacking philosophy at Wembley with a ground use to possession play compared to some other League One grounds. So I will back Leyton Orient to win this one 2-0 and see a historic return to the second tier after they last played there in 1981-82. On to League Two, we've got AFC Wimbledon versus Notts County. Wimbledon have the best goalkeeper in League Two in Owen Goodman, who has 21 clean sheets, which is a joint best in the division. And who can forget the 2 penalties he saved earlier this season against Premier League team Ipswich Town, to enable them to progress through the EFL Cup. They have the professional role model of Ryan Johnson, and Josh Neufville has had another standout campaign for the youngster. Wimbledon haven't had the greatest run of form, though, coming into the playoffs, but they have really been in every game they've played in, only losing or winning by the odd goal. Jackson will now look to better his current management career by progressing to the playoffs final. Notts County have one of the best forward lines in the league, to be fair, as epitomised by David McGoldrick scoring 17 goals and assisting 3 times, and Jatta scoring 19 and assisting 4. They therefore occupy 2 of the top 3 goal-scoring charts. Notts County have been arguably on a worse run of form, though, only 1 win in 6. Maynard therefore has a huge task on his hands to get the Magpies into the final, especially with him not having any playoff experience in the past. Ultimately, it is going to be a team with an impressive strike force against the best defence in the league, really. So I think we will initially see Notts County win at 1-0 at Meadow Lane, but with a defence not being their forte, Wimbledon will hit the double at Plough Lane to win 2-1 on aggregate. Walsall versus Chesterfield. It has been a disappointing second half of the season for Walsall, as they bottled the title and then they bottled automatic promotion. However, a win on the last game of the season could mean that the players have now realised what is at stake for the club. Walsall are certainly solid defensively, with 2 of the back 4 being in the League Two team of the season, them being Connor Barrett in his debut season in the Football League, and Taylor Allen, who despite being a defender has scored 6 goals this season. Going forward, they have been even better, scoring 75, the most in the league, with the League Two Young Player of the Season, Nathan Lowe, having a phenomenal loan spell, scoring 15 and assisting 5 in 22 games. Matt Sadler has done a great job taking Walsall from mid-table to the playoffs, so despite the sort of more poor run of form towards the end of the season, he must be congratulated for doing such a good job. The Spyrites can be happy, though, whether they progress or not, as this is their first season back in the Football League, and reaching the playoffs is a well and truly great testament to the club, and that there's not actually that much gulf in class between the League Two and the National League. Liam Manderful is the player you do have to look at with Chesterfield, with his versatility, his vision, and technical ability, which includes being 2-footed. Captain Jamie Grimes could also play an important role in securing back-to-back promotions, because who can forget his brace against Boreham Wood last season, which sealed promotion for Chesterfield. They are also the most informed team coming into the playoffs, so will have that momentum. But Chesterfield and the playoffs just don't mix. Paul Cook hasn't a huge success rate in the playoffs, albeit has won several promotions automatically, and Chesterfield have had 3 consecutive playoff defeats from 2020-21 to 2022-23. It is therefore very difficult to call this one, and I think the SMH groups at the SMH Group Stadium, I think it will end level pegging on a 2-2 draw. This means that the best Scot is where the tie will be determined. And in front of home fans, I do back a 3-1 win for the Saddlers in front of a rocking crowd. This means a 5-3 win on aggregate for Walsall. So going into the final, well, it's going to be a relatively tense game, I'd say, of Walsall versus Wimbledon. Sadler has never managed a playoff team, but as a player, captained Shrewsbury to the EFL Trophy and League One playoff final in 2017-18. Warsaw as a club last reached Wembley in 2014-15 when they were in the EFL Trophy final. And they last reached the playoff finals in 2000-2001, winning the tie against Reading, albeit in Cardiff at the Millennium Stadium at that time, because they were building the new Wembley. Sadler's style of management is quite flexible, focusing on the opposition and a focus on set pieces. Johnny Jackson has also never managed a playoff team, but hasn't ever played in the playoffs either. This inexperience does pose some question marks, it must be said. But Wimbledon were last in the playoffs in 2015-16 when they finished 7th, but they did succeed in getting promotion that time round. Johnny Jackson prides himself on being hard to beat, but is equally adaptable and chooses his style of play based on the players available. So ultimately, it will be a tentative game, with both teams trying to find out the other's weaknesses, and with both being solid in defence, I think it will be a close game, with Walsall emerging as 1-0 winners. On to the National League. Oldham Athletic versus SC Halifax Town. Mickey Mellon is a serial playoff manager, often getting teams promoted, with home advantage going to Boundary Park, which is likely to have over 10,000 buzzing Lactics fans. This will provide the 12th man to help the team. They are very good going forward in comparison to the Shaman by scoring 14 more goals than them across the season, and this is in part due to Mike Fondop's 17 goals and 6 assists, putting him joint 7th in the goal-scoring charts. Jake Caprice has also shown himself as a useful wing-back, with 72% accurate passes and 34% accurate crosses. Chris Millington does have a less favourable success in the playoffs, with him getting knocked out of the playoffs in the quarter-final stage last season. Although Halifax haven't been prolific in front of goal this season, with only 50 goals, which is actually the joint second worst in the league, defensively they have been a great team, only conceding 46, which is the 5th best in the league, and on average only conceded once per game, as an average that is. That's thanks to the efforts of goalkeeper and captain Sam Johnson, who has only conceded 35 goals this season and kept 14 clean sheets. He was helped by their centre-back Adam Senior, who is also a key part of the Shaman's set-piece routine, meaning he has 5 goals and 4 assists. They also have a great central midfield partnership, consisting of Jamie Cook and Tom Pugh, with a combined 9 goals and 5 assists between the two of them. But more importantly, a great way for Halifax to play through the channels. I do think Halifax's lack of goals will be a problem in this game, and despite some strong defensive attributes, I have to back Oldham in front of Oldham fans in this one-off tie to win this game 2-0. Rochdale versus Southend United. Jimmy McNulty comes into the playoffs, having never managed in the playoffs before. His only experience comes as a player in 2007-8, when with Stockport he earned promotion from League Two, winning the game at Wembley, ironically enough, against Rochdale. The standout player at Dale is Kyron Gordon, who despite being only 22, has really excelled in his first season, where he's been an ever-present. The defender has only conceded 44 goals this season, predominantly playing as a right-back, who occasionally drifts in field, and he recovers an incredible 12.3 times a game, often relying on his pace to recover from his own mistakes. He still has much to learn, but if Rochdale don't go up, I would expect an EFL club to come calling. Taran Alarakaya is a Tanzanian international who, as a left midfielder, has 4 goals and 4 assists this season. But more important is his passing acumen at 20 accurate passes a game, with this being 80% of all passes he makes. He can certainly, attempts to make anyway, he can certainly help in progressing the ball. I think I won't be alone in saying everyone can remember in December when Rochdale beat Tamworth 3-0, and he was the man of the match with an assist, 33 out of the 39 passes finding their man, 19 ground duels where he came out on top, and where 13 times he came out on top, and had a successful dribble attempts at 8 out of the 9 attempted. Sam Beckwith can also not go without mention, who operating at left back has 52.4 accurate passes, translating to an incredible 84% success rate. 10.9 balls recovers per game as well, Finally, they do also have a firepower to add to that incredible wing play, with Ian Henderson scoring 9 and assisting 3, and Cairo Mitchell scoring 1 better than last season at 14 and assisting twice. Southend therefore have an uphill battle, but they do have the form for coming into this match, being unbeaten in 4. Kevin Maher has the same level of inexperience in the playoffs, having not managed a playoff team, but in an unforgettable playing spell with the Shrimpers, he was part of the team earning promotion from League 2 to the Championship, including winning the 2004-5 playoffs and consecutive EFL Trophy runners-up in 2004 and 2005. Mayor's gone down as a legend of Southend, really, earning freedom of the city last year, and now looks to repay the pride of Southend in these playoffs. The standout name for me is Gus Scott Morris, who quite frankly is an incredible right back, scoring 17 goals and assisting 5 from right back. As a predominantly defensive player, that is an insane stat, really. Yeah. Can't underestimate that at all, or overstate that enough, really. Harry Taylor has also helped out in the centre-back department as part of the defence, which has only conceded 48 goals this season and has been present every minute this season. With both teams having inexperienced management coming into the playoffs, which is a different style of game, really, with everything riding one match, and both teams relying on wing-backs, I can envisage probably quite a close game, as both sides somewhat nullify the other. The one difference is Southend has demonstrated they know how to dig deep and defend, as shown literally on the Bank Holiday Monday against Gateshead, where they knew a point would be enough to secure playoffs. A similar resilient defence may be shown in this game, and I do back the Shrimpers to win by a solitary goal to 0. On to the semi-finals, we've got York City versus Oldham Athletic. We've already addressed Oldham in detail, but it's slightly different as they do have to travel to a mightily impressive York City, who have 96 points this season. They have only won 8 away games this season, so already have the odds stacked against them. But we know in every away game this season, Oldham have been in a close game, apart from the second away game of the season against Aldershot, so it's bound to be a close game. If York don't win promotion, then it must be stated that it would be a huge shock and underperformance. This does mean every opposition will up their game, but the Minstermen have some tricks up their sleeves as well to counter this. Joe Felix, namely amongst them, being 4 times Player of the Month this year at York. A bit of an unknown quantity to many coming into this season with York, especially with the York fans, because he came from League below with Worthing. But he's clearly a player who thrives under Hinshelwood's playing philosophy as he followed his manager to the LNER Community Stadium. He's one of those players who covers the entire pitch, so despite being a right back, you couldn't really tell that 2 goals and 7 assists, those 2 goals and 7 assists don't tell a full story. And regularly getting Man of the Match awards, Player of the Month awards, etc., you can just really tell that he is a great player to have on your team. I mean, they just tell us them deliveries into the box as well that he possesses, they're top notch. Defensively, he is aided by centre-back Callum Howe, who is aerially great in defending the box and is a good pro to have at this level. And you also got goalkeeper Harrison Mayle, who has kept 18 clean sheets this season and has great distribution. Alex Hunt, who dropped a level down from Grimsby Town, has been pulling the strings in midfield, who has a decent surface level stats of 4 goals and 7 assists, but 49.4 accurate percentages, standing an impressive with accurate percentages, which was stand at an impressive 87%, just shows how impressive his vision is to find teammates. You've got right winger Tyree Sinclair, who scored 7 and assisted 4, who is more of a winger, which cuts in field and admittedly sometimes can be a passenger, but if he's on form, then York will excel. Finally, you have Ollie Pearce. He's an incredible talisman and another player who followed Hinshelwood to York from Worthing, having scored 31 goals this season and 10 assists. I wouldn't mind Derby signing him in the summer. I certainly think some EFL club will pinch his services. As alluded to already, though, teams will step up to play against York, but this hasn't proven an issue in several games this season for the Mincemen. I reckon Hinshelwood's men get it done after a 1-1 draw in ordinary time and extra time, going to a penalty shootout. And with the Pens, you can just imagine Mayle pulling off some vital saves and Ollie Pearce, of course, scoring the winner. to take York to Wembley. Forest Green Rovers are hosting Southend United. I think it'll be quite interesting to see if this game comes off, as Southend could probably bring more away fans than home fans in this game, and therefore the home advantage would be non-existent. It is natural for the team who snuck into the playoffs this time round, it's being Southend, to have a good run in the competition. And it's certainly a chance against a Forest Green Rovers team who most would probably expect to walk this league based on the budgets they have, the wage bills they have. Everything about that club, the infrastructure towards it would imply they should be winning the league. You got marauding before Forest Green Rovers, though. You got the marauding fullback Jamie Robson, who has been a near ever present this season, and he will hope to prevent the upset. 4 goals and 4 assists is a good turnout for a fullback, and in Forest Green's 3-0 win over Tamworth, he scored, produced a key pass, had an accurate cross, 4 accurate long balls, 29 accurate passes being at 85% of those attempted, and 2 ground duels won and 2 clearances in a game where the Gloucestershire team swept the floor, and he won the Man of the Match award. And he has won Player of the Season by both the fans and the playoffs, and the players rather. Adam May is another name that all Forest Green fans will be familiar with, who has brought that League One expertise to the dressing room, having been a typical central midfielder who has covered the whole of the middle of the park and spraying passes everywhere at 48.8 per game, which is an 81% success rate of those attempted. Rovers wouldn't be complete, though, without the forward players of Kyle McAllister on the wing, who has scored 10 and assisted 8, and several of those assists have gone to the centre forward, Christian Duij, who has himself scored 12. It really will be a battle of the wide areas, with both Maher and Cottrell utilising successful players out wide. I reckon an entertaining game, with a 2-2 draw after normal time and extra time, with a 3-1 penalty win for Southend. So the final will be Southend versus York City. But when it comes to playing at Wembley, you need expertise in the playoffs. We've already established that Maher doesn't have this from a managerial viewpoint, but what about Hinshelwood? Well, not really either. So both managers will need to avoid the common pitfall of playing the occasion. I can imagine fans will both remember the times they've been in the playoffs in recent history. Southend in 2014-15, progressing at Wembley past Wycombe Wanderers on penalties in League 2, whereas York City obviously had that promotion 2 seasons ago from the National League North, beating Boston United 2-0 in the final. The last time they were in the playoffs final at Wembley was 2011-12, earning promotion from the then conference, beating Luton Town 2-1 in a season they earned promotion and also won the FA Trophy. So what about the tactics? Well, Maher emphasises strong leadership on the pitch and high-intensity attacking football, often implying a fluid formation setting up to counter the opposition, with the formation being 5-3-2 when Southend held York to a 1-1 draw at home at the beginning of the campaign. Hinshelwood is also an attacking intense manager, shown by an impressive 95 goals scored this season. He also likes his teams to dominate possession, play with the ball on the deck and into feet, and pressing from the front. I think we can all agree that despite Southend having some decent players, York are just a class above. And I will reiterate, on 96 points, that in any other league really, is a champions-worthy points haul. Both teams will come out flying, trying to be the first to score with an early goal for York to settle the nerves. I don't think they'll take their eye off the ball, and Hinshelwood did recently win promotion from the Isthmian League in 2021-22 with Worthing, and with his own team, he will guide his team to victory 3-0. So, on to the actual predictions, which means I need to switch tabs because it's on a different one. Wednesday, I has just commented, good afternoon. I hope that Sheffield United don't win the playoffs, to be honest. The Steel City derby is great for this city. It absolutely is. It does bring some great revenue. And obviously, it's your rivals. I'm currently hating seeing Forest in the Premier League. And I'm sure you'd also hate Sheffield United being in the Premier League as well. So yeah, on to the Premier League games. We've got Fulham hosting Everton at Craven Cottage. Yeah, I mean, ever since David Moyes has come in, the games have been much closer in And to be fair, you could probably say that Everton's been in every game under Moyes, really. At the moment, they're on a bit more uneven run after compared to the managerial bounce that Moyes first had. But so's Fulham. Both have been quite inconsistent of late. I'm going to have to go with a 0-0 draw in this occasion. On to the next one, we've got Ipswich hosting Brentford. Ipswich are relegated now, so the pressure is a bit off. Brentford's on a great run of form, unbeaten in 5 and won the last 3 consecutive games. But it's a bit of a tall order for them to get Europe at this moment in time. There'll be hope. The one thing is if they manage to... If Villa lose every game from here on in and Brentford win every game, then they could sneak Conference League. But it's leaning left a bit or too little too late. And to be honest, I'm seeing this one as ending in a 1-1 draw. Southampton versus Manchester City. Well, Southampton have been dreadful this season, and I'm hoping just Man City do a solid, keeping Southampton down as statistically joint being worst point total. And also, you've got to say, Manchester City are wanting to keep Nottingham Forest out the Champions League as well. Good news for all of us, then, is that they're currently the best informed team in the league. So that's certainly something. And I don't think a Southampton team, which has been the worst team the Premier League has seen in years, is going to stop them. And absolutely steamrolling for Pep Guardiola's men, 4-1 to the Citizens. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Brighton. Well, if we ignore the last game that Wolves were in, we were lost. Wolves have been on a phenomenal run. Absolutely great run. I think if you base the table since like February, I think it might be like the end of February, Wolves come out in the Champions League. Something like that. Like, it's been quite the turnaround since they got rid of Gary O'Neill. And yeah, you would have to back Wolves to get a result against anyone at the moment, especially a Brighton side, which has been a bit mixed of late, to be honest. All sorts of results, draws, wins, losses. I'm going to go 1-0 to Wolves in this game. You'd be a fool to back against them. Something with Molineux as well. Bournemouth versus Villa. This is an interesting one, 7th versus 8th. There is a 7-point difference, but Bournemouth do have a better goal difference. But Villa have slightly better form. It's really hard to tell, to be honest, in this one. I think it will be a fairly close game. We're going to go a 2-2 draw in this game. On to Newcastle hosting Chelsea. Well, Newcastle can still technically get second. They're going to have to pull out all the stops if they need to. And it's not an easy game against Chelsea, which is one of the really strong outfits in the league right now. Really good run of form they're on. They're both on 63 points, both on goal difference of 21. Logical would say to be a draw, but it is at St. James's Park. And just because I've got some great friends who are Newcastle fans, we're going to say 2-0 to the Magpies. Out this window, which is now closed because it's getting dark, you can normally see St. James's Park as well. Manchester United are hosting West Ham United. We may actually see a Man United win. Shock. It's only happened 10 times this season. But West Ham are out of sorts as well. And if Man United lose this, then they have been horrendous this season, with both Tottenham and Man United, therefore, would be occupying the 2 places above the relegation zone, which is just a damning indictment for these 2 so-called Big 6 clubs. I will have to say, though, at Old Trafford, Man United win this one 3-0. Now, I'm hoping Spurs do a... sorry, not Spurs. We're on Forest at the moment. Sorry, it's the East Midlands derby of sorts. It's not the traditional one along the Brian Clough way, but Leicester v Forest is still a rivalry. I'd have to want Leicester to win this one because realistically, Derby's got more beef with Nottingham Forest than Leicester. But let's be honest, who can actually see Leicester winning this one? We're going to have to say 2-0 to Forest. Like, Leicester have been so poor this season. I mean, hopefully they give us 6 points next season. That'd be great. Local bragging rights, and hopefully a good season for the Rams, actually, whose safety was confirmed in the last game we had. Tottenham Hotspur versus Palace. Palace have drawn the last 3. Tottenham haven't won in a single of their last 4 games. Neither of Palace. Yeah, it's just a bit, both of these teams are as bad as each other. But Palace are more content with being mid-table. Tottenham aren't usually used to being this low down, but it'll be a very Spursy thing to win this one, won't it? 3-1 to Tottenham. Liverpool versus Arsenal for the final Premier League one of this occasion, and it is first v second. I mean, it's going to be a tight game either way you look at it, and I'm going to have to say a 1-1 draw in this one. I just think that Liverpool have won the title now. They don't got much to play for. Don't have. They don't have a lot to play for. Arsenal, neither, but they'd like to get second, you know. So, yeah, a 1-1 draw. And then we've got the FA Trophy final. I think it's going to be a relatively close game. Both of these ones not really wanting to concede much. Both of them are really, it's at Wembley. A 0-0 draw with Aldershot Town winning on penalties. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you all very much for watching. Please do subscribe if you're new around here. Let me know your predictions for the playoffs down below. Some really riveting and exciting games to look forward to, especially if your teams are involved with them. Let me know. Are you nervous? Are you thinking, I'm fairly confident that we are going to do decent stuff in this one? And if you're a team which have just missed out on the playoffs, maybe you've won the automatic promotion and you're happily on the beach celebrating, or maybe you're just missed out on the playoffs and a bit disappointed, let me know. And maybe you're just a team who's in mid-table and never really minded where you are. If you're in one of the positions, then you're a bit more like a neutral like me, watching it on. Martin Reiner said, this time next year, we will be out of a championship. Which direction? It is up to the chairman. And I know you're a Derby fan, Martin. I mean, that's a bold statement. That is a really bold statement, because I don't think our side is bad enough to get relegated next season. I also don't think it's good enough to get promoted, to be honest. I'm not going to do my predictions for the championship yet, but realistically, I think we're probably going to be upper half, maybe challenging for the playoffs, maybe, but I can't quite see us on the current squad we have being much lower than 18th, and I also can't see us being in the playoffs. Anyway, that's for another time. That's for a predictions video, which will be coming in the future. But I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.